Hello, my loves. Welcome back. It's wonderful to see you again. I mean, etherically. I guess it's wonderful to have you see me again, would be the better way to say it. So, tonight I want to share with you all what I received from the 13 hours of workshops that I was fortunate enough to do on the Alaskan cruise with Abraham Hicks that I just came back from. And in addition to being in that incredible hall and receiving that information with everyone else, I also was blessed enough to be called on stage and have my question that I was projecting be said and answered. So I'm going to share all of that with you tonight. I'm going to share the answer to my questions, and there were two. And then I'm going to go on to kind of just free fall my notes that I took because they're in no particular order other than receiving through the teaching. So I'll begin by saying that my first question was, how can I be a better channel for entities the like of Abraham and do it in the way that Esther does? So the first thing that they said was give it time. So that was good to hear. And then they went on to share something that completely blew me away. And that was that Esther had something going for her that I did not. And that was that when she first started this work, she had Jerry. So for Esther, she really was a tabula rasa. She was a blank slate. She didn't have any firm beliefs in anything. She had no past history in any sort of spiritual work. In fact, when she and Jerry first when he was first called to kind of seek out channelers and psychics and this sort of thing, she kind of thought it was all bunk. So she really had no pre-existing belief systems about anything. And I personally have been working really hard. From messages from Spirit have guided me to kind of do the same, to release all of my pre-existing belief systems, which is a little bit more difficult for me because, as you all know, I've been doing this for 24 years now. So working in this realm anyways. So this is something that I've been really working hard on, and I kind of got validated a little later that I've been doing good on that. But what I don't have, and what Esther had, was Jerry. And Jerry had all the questions. Jerry, in fact, had been questioning life and the meaning of life and spirituality and all the things since the beginning of time. And that's what she had to help her ask the questions for Spirit to answer. And so when I heard that, I realized that part of my difficulty really is that I don't have questions. If you're a client of mine or you're a student of mine, you know that I will answer your questions, which I love because that's how Spirit works. The same with me as it does for Esther, in that, we're not here to, they're not here, I should say, to tell you how to direct your life. It's more just to give you support and advice on challenges that you're facing, help you heal from trauma. And that's the kind of thing I teach. So it's really wonderful to be able to share Spirit's guidance with my people. But when it comes to my own life, I don't have any questions. I just don't. I've been doing this for so long and I stay so connected that I just already feel very much at peace with the nature of the universe. Some are surprised that that's despite all the things that are going on. I'm still at peace because I feel connected all of the time. So this was really wonderful to hear, but it left me with the knowledge that I need someone to ask the questions. And as I went to bed that night, Spirit's voice woke me the next morning, as it often does, and pointed out the two people that I went on the cruise with, and the fact that they have a lot of questions. So that morning I went to them and I said, so, hey, this is what Spirits guided me to ask. How about you guys ask questions and maybe help mediate some of the responses I get? Because sometimes the difficulty of receiving information and speaking information is that, sometimes my human mouth gets in the way of being as articulate as I could be. And they blessed me with both agreeing to do that. So look forward to the future when I'm going to be sharing some of the answers I get from the questions that they pose, which are really going to be based on what do people in general want to know who haven't been doing this work for all this time. So that's the first half. And the next question that I asked was, why do I struggle sometimes with catastrophizing thoughts? And what I meant by that is in the past several years, when I get on a plane, I'm afraid it's going to crash. When I was on the boat prior to this conversation, I was afraid it was going to sink. And it's really wretched because, on the other hand, I'm super connected and I feel super safe. So I was really confused by this energy and this anxiety that comes to me when I travel. And what they said to that was that it was because I am so intuitive. And then they said, some would call psychic. And then they said, so what I've been doing, because I'm so focused on helping other people and I don't do this work for myself, when I'm around people who are anxious, have catastrophizing thoughts, I pull from them because I'm trying to make them feel better. And so what I do is I pull a shit ton of anxiety from people around me. So they gave me some suggestions on how not to do that. And I will maybe share that with you later as well. So if anybody has any questions now, I will look at the comment section. Otherwise, I'll just jump in to the notes I took while I was in session in these workshops, which I think are fascinating. So let me look. Oh, okay. That's good to know. So someone's just giving me an update on the fact that this live may not be working great. So sorry about that. I don't know what to do about it because I'm connected here, but when it comes to electronics, not my forte. So we're just going to hope for the best. All right. So feel free as I'm talking to jump in and ask a question. And if I see that, then I will stop and I'll answer it. Okay. So one of the first things that they talked about is that when we are asking for things from the place of the belief of what we have, then we're not a match to what we're asking for. So one of the easiest ways to kind of talk about manifestation, and if you're familiar with the work of Abraham, you know a lot of it is based on that, is to talk about money, because I personally have never met never met anyone who was like, oh, please, no more of that. So to explain this a little bit more, what they're saying is when you're holding a belief of lack, right? I don't have enough, or I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, and you have all of this energy around that, then you're not a match to the request you're making from the universe, because that would be abundance of whatever way you're asking for. And if you are thinking more about what you don't have than feeling more into the faith that you will, then you're not a match to it. So the other thing is that we need to present ourselves to our field of attraction. So we are making these fields of attraction around us all the time with our thoughts, right? And we want to make sure that we're presenting ourselves or matching the energy of the thoughts we're thinking that we want the result of. Because, what we think about, we bring about, whether we want it or not. So it's good to remember that we need to present ourselves to those things that we want and spend less time ruminating about those things that we don't, because that energy is manifesting as well. We need to point at what we want, but don't justify it. So, using the example of money again, we want to energetically point towards the abundance we want, but don't start talking about all the reasons why we want it, because again, that's creating more activation, sending the energy to point at what we don't want. Because how we feel is what we get. So let that repeat in your mind. How we feel is what we get. So if we're feeling depressed, scared, worried, fearful, sad, lacking, well, that's more of the energy that we're unfortunately and unwantingly calling towards us. When we finally catch on to the way this works, you will notice, because you will have the energies of jubilation and elation. So ask yourself the last time you felt that. And I am blessed in that I feel that every single day. Maybe not every moment of every day, but every single day I feel elated at my life and jubilant for it. We want to make sure that all the time we are, again, pointing more at what we want and less in opposition to what we want. So Esther used an example of, like, you can't be pointing here and pointing here at the same time. This is what I want, but this is what I'm stuck with. One of the recommendations that she gave, which I thought was brilliant, is really spend some time thinking about what you believe is right and wrong in relationship to money. I know if you're like me, you might have been raised with a lot of beliefs about money, and not all of them are great. You'd be surprised how many clients I talk to who, when they talk about money, say things that make it sound like it's not really something that they want. So maybe spend some time thinking, what's wrong about money? What's wrong about your relationship with money? What did you grow up believing that might be holding it unintentionally or unconsciously from you? When we have impulses towards something that we want, that is a sign that we are going into alignment with it, and it builds momentum. So follow these impulses, especially the ones that bring you jubilation or elation. Then they talked about Ask and It Is Given, which is the name of their book, which I forgot to bring to the live today, but it's, I think, one of the first books that was written. It's really good, really basic, has some wonderful things in it. Ask and It Is Given, this is something that happens instantaneously. In other words, those times when you thought, oh, maybe this is a moment of deja vu, or geez, this is a coincidence, I was just thinking about that. What that means is that what you were thinking about had zero resistance. Isn't that exciting? You had no resistance to what you were thinking about. And that's why it showed up so quickly in your life. So the more things that you want or are thinking about that you have resistance to, well, the longer it's going to take to get it, especially if you're pointing in two different directions. They talked about meditation and the purposes behind meditation, as was an answer to a question they were asked. Oh, let's see, I've been asked a question. Not justifying my actions is a concept that I have varying success applying. I hear you. And it certainly feels better to not feel the need to justify while acting or pointing towards what I desire. What can I do to keep the moral assessor in my head quiet so I can manifest what I want? Well, that's really interesting. You're using the term moral assessor, and I assume that's in relation to justification. I've not heard that term before, but I think it is perfect, because I think we all would say that we have some sort of moral assessor in our minds of what is right or what should be, perhaps, when it comes to justification. So one of the things I would suggest is you look at the belief that you might have held or hold unconsciously or subconsciously, that things are not happening the way they should. Because I think that's where that kind of judge and jury comes into our mind, that things aren't happening right. Like, this shouldn't be going on. That shouldn't be happening. This should be happening. I should have that. And when we have all of these shoulds and these belief systems already in place, well, we can't manifest from a place outside of them. And manifesting through them takes a really long time. So I hope that's helpful. The first thing I would do is I would really ask myself if that's a place I still want to stay. And then work every day on waxing off for Gen Xers, or swiping left for millennials. All those thoughts that aren't pointing in the direction that you want, even if you could swear they're really, really valid, as I know I could. Okay. So meditation, which I know a lot of you already do, and again, if you're one of my students, you know that I assign meditation exercises quite a bit, really is most beneficial for the stopping of thought, specifically non-resistant thought. So what we want to do is kind of stop these thoughts that we hold that prevent us from moving past our belief systems, like we were just speaking about. One of the things that I tell people is, imagine what meditation's best goal is to make space between your thoughts, right? If you're like me, you probably feel like you're always running mental marathons and there is no space between your thoughts. So think of meditation as a way to make space between your thoughts. And guess what, guys? It doesn't have to be on your meditation cushion. It doesn't have to be to a particular guru. It doesn't have to be for a particular time. I mean, honestly, meditation can also be referred to as mindfulness. We can do this when we're just not distracting ourselves from our present moment. You know, when was the last time that maybe you ate a meal without the television or your phone? Maybe just with music in the background without words. Or you took a walk, or you sat on your deck, or you drove your car. Just try to take more and more time in your life where your brain is free of the information given to you by other people. And you will find that it can work very similarly to meditation itself, and that you will begin to find you have more space between your thoughts, and that will slow these resistant thoughts. So that's just Cassandra's suggestion on how to bring meditation in your life if it seems overwhelming. I recently had a student tell me that a guru they studied with said that if they're not meditating for at least an hour twice a day, they shouldn't bother. And I thought that was just so almost unconscionably elitist, because the person who they were studying with is from a country where they literally kind of have their bowl and their mat. You know, they're on a mountaintop where they don't have children, they don't have spouses, they don't have jobs, and so they can meditate all day, but a lot of us can't. And I think setting these goals for ourselves of doing that kind of work, it just makes you not do it at all, when instead hit your snooze button and lay in that momentum-free moment that you get when you wake up, and just let your mind be free without all those thoughts you're about to put into it. I have a couple of other questions. I get nervous that my worrying thoughts will just pop in without my ability to stop them, and this will create something I don't want. Literally, I think I might have done it with that sentence. The jinx phenomenon. How does the vortex know what I truly want to attract? So, it's a very good question, because we've talked about what we think about, we bring about, right? So there is this fear that, oh my gosh, if I have catastrophizing thoughts, for instance, me, and I've thought about this plane crashing, am I going to kill my best friends on the plane and everyone in it? The fortunate thing is it really is how you feel. So your vortex or the vortex is called to you by how you're feeling. And the higher the vibration of those feelings, the more attractant they become. So those feelings that you have that are fear-based, stress-based, anger-based, those really aren't attractant feelings. So the more you refocus your thoughts and feel into them, the stronger it will become. I also play a little trick for myself in that if I think a negative thought about my life, if I start pointing in a direction I don't want, the next thing I do is I force myself to think 12, I'm not even sure why 12, thoughts that are in opposition, and then I feel into them. So fearful thought comes up, oh no, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't happen, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, look what I'm doing here. And you know what? Sometimes I don't even notice the emotion that I have that is dread or sorrow until a little bit later. And then I have to ask myself, why am I so upset? Why am I depressed? I wasn't depressed an hour ago. And then I remember what I was thinking. So as soon as you recognize that what you're thinking is bringing you to a place of feeling bad, then stop and decide that you're going to think 12 thoughts pointing in the direction of what it is you want. And then you're going to feel into them and you're going to feel great. Like, oh, you know what? When this happens, it's going to be amazing. I'm so grateful that I do this so well. I'm so happy that this is something that I really enjoy. I'm so lucky that I have like-minded people around me. I'm so blessed that I have these wonderful things I noticed today. Whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be in direct opposition. It can just be positive feeling thoughts. And now all of a sudden, you put it into reverse and you're going the direction you want it to go. So I hope that helps. And jinxing isn't a thing. Honestly, if there's good news, talk about it all the time. If it's bad news, then don't freaking talk about it, right? Don't justify it. Don't try to get people to agree with you on it. Hard, right? Because if you really feel something's wretched, you really want to share it with your people so they can go, so wretched. And you can go, I know, right? But do your best, as I do, to not spend at least as much time talking about what you hate as you do about what you love. Mindfulness is a challenge when you're used to distraction. Yes. Yes, it is. And this is why sometimes setting aside that time just for meditation where you're turning off all distractions in order to sit and be with yourself is very helpful. But don't expect it, despite what you might have heard, to be easy by any means. Because it's not. It's not easy for me. It's not any easy for really anyone I know. I'm sure it's easy for some people I don't know. But no one I know is like, wow, meditation is a breeze. My mind is completely empty. I've never met that person. So don't give yourself a hard time. Just be present with yourself and stop spending as much time taking in the information from other people. Set times when you're going to do that, when you're going to do what I call laterally sourcing, or what Abraham calls calibrating to others. Because even just pausing that for a little while helps you really sink into you, which helps you sink into your guides. So, okay. So, more about pointing thoughts in the direction of the wanted, but when you are no longer caring about being right. So that kind of spoke to the earlier question that was made. When you are no longer caring about being right and you point your thoughts in the direction of your wanted, you turn it from an opinion to an intention. And I think this was really powerful. In fact, I wrote down a negative opinion I had. And then I took a moment on a break to write down what my intention was. So I would write this down if you're taking notes. Turn your opinions into intentions. So my opinion that I saw was life has to be hard. Like I have literally held that opinion throughout my life. I don't anymore. And so what I wrote was, no, it doesn't. It can be as easy as I want it to be. And my intention is I acknowledge and accept that life is easy for me. I don't even have to work hard, which I used to think I had to. And I get everything I want without effort, just literally allowing it to flow to me with ease. Yes. Doesn't that sound good? Don't you want that as your intention? Take it. It's yours. And trust me, Abraham approves. Abraham talked so much about what he called standing in the shade. Like, you don't have to be in the blistering sun, which if you're in Sacramento, you know what that means. Just literally step into the shade. Step into the ease. Step into the receiving and allowing. In fact, let's see, I wrote down where he talks a lot about stepping into that space, but I don't know where it is, so I'll get to it. Okay, so feel the relief of releasing resistance. Be easy on yourself. Let it in. Just be willing. Decide how to feel good right now. Chill more. Love more. Let yourself off the hook more. Let go of the doing. So hard. But these are words straight from source. Self-interest is a good thing. That's right. It's good to be focused on self. It is okay not to fix everything. Just step into the shade and go where it feels good. And when it comes to other people in your life, because I know if you're like me, you worry when you hear them worrying. Everyone is not ready to get it. And you know what? Not your job. Not your job to help them get it. You do not have to work so hard for this allowing. You are already the worthy recipient. And don't feel guilty about living in the shade instead of the harshness of the sun. Feel instead that cool breeze of releasing resistance. Be easy on yourself. Just be willing. Give yourself some relief so the universe can deliver what you are wanting. Again, when you're in a place of release and relief and allowing, when you're releasing resistance, when you're standing in the shade and you're just feeling so blessed, that's when the universe can give you what you've been asking for. That's when your resistance is gone and you can just receive. When you're ruminating, when you're overthinking, when you're stressing, you can't then, because you're in your own way. Let's see, more questions. Set times each day to be conscious. How many? That's adorable. Why don't you start with 4? Why don't you start with setting a timer 4 times a day for 4 minutes at a time? Close your eyes and just focus on breathing. Maybe you could take 40 breaths. Oh, hi, sweetheart. You are beautiful. Thank you for being such a wonderful reflection. Oh, I'm running out of time. Okay, let's speed through this here. Calibrate to an energy of steadiness. So again, that energy of everything's fine. I know. Oh, there were stressful thoughts a moment ago. But in reality, this moment, everything's fine. And everything's going to continue to be fine. It's going to be better than fine. I'm a worthy recipient. I'm going to allow all the things that make me the happiest to come to me. Give everyone a break. No one is doing anything wrong. And if you're like me, sometimes that's hard because we look around, we have judgments, we have that morality assessor. And it's hard not to think to ourselves, this is something wrong. This is something somebody shouldn't say. This is something that somebody shouldn't do. This is something somebody shouldn't be. This is, all of this is bad. And we certainly have a lot of opportunities in life right now to see a lot of bad things happening. Give everyone a break. No one's doing anything wrong. They also talked about the awareness of what's so hard about letting ourselves feel good. Like, ask yourself, what's so hard about letting yourself feel good? Do you struggle? Do you think that in order to do good, you have to feel bad? Because that may sound odd, but a lot of people do. A lot of people think that in order to be good people, they have to be morally strict. They have to disallow themselves things that bring them pleasure. And I don't believe that. I believe pleasure is very healing. You cannot close the gap between you and you if you are calibrating to others. So we talked about kind of all the information we take in from other people, something that I like to call laterally sourcing versus vertically sourcing. When you laterally source, all you know, all you learn, all you receive is what everyone else has already known, learned, and received. Reading a book, watching a show, scrolling through a TikTok, listening to a song. We're really receiving information from other people. And if you want to connect more vertically, closer to source, creator, your inner being, your higher self, we need to spend more energy connecting vertically than we do laterally. We cannot calibrate to everyone and live happily ever after. That's really powerful. And in this sense, I'd like to think about calibrating to other people as people pleasing. Anybody else do that? Codependency? Anyone? Trauma responses? Everybody okay? Anybody need anything? Let me get that for you. Anyone? Yeah. So working on not calibrating to other people is really the only way to live happily ever after. From the words of Source. Modifying ourselves to match the needs of others builds resentment. Because what happens is when we do it, we move further from our own. So when you are changing your behavior to try to make other people happy, you're moving further away from your own needs, not only causing resentment, but also taking you farther from your own inspirational, enlightened, and spiritual goals. Somebody said, me too? Yes, I see you. Everyone is blessed with an abundance of well-being that some are just not ready to let in. Bam! That hit me hard. That hit me hard because I, like maybe you, could think of a few people in my life that I have really worked hard, and these are friends and family, not clients, obviously, that I have really worked hard to help, to uplift, to support, to increase their own connection to their joy, to help them connect to spirit, to whatever it is I felt they needed. And the reminder that everyone is already blessed with an abundance of well-being. Whew. Okay. They will let that in when they're ready. They will stop being sad, mad, scared, angry, whatever it is, depressed, fretful, anxious, whatever it is, when their system is ready. You don't need to do anything. And if you are doing things, then you're pulling yourself from where you're supposed to be. And the best way that you can support someone else is to raise your own vibration. That's right. That's the best way you can support everyone in your life. Raise your freaking vibration as high as you can. Follow your joy. Create your own bliss. I wake up every morning and know that this is going to be the best day I have lived in my life because it's a brand new freaking day. And I love it. And I love this opportunity. And who knows how many more I'm going to have. So it's an incredible day because it's going to be different than every other day I've lived because I make an active, direct effort to make it that way and not to live yesterday tomorrow. All right, I know I'm going long. I'm just going to finish this page. There is more. When we try to make our energies match someone else who isn't in the same place as we are, then we struggle and we suffer. And so the next logical step is to step into the shade. Because you cannot deprive anyone of a happy life by going and getting your own. Bam. I wonder how many of you needed to hear that. You can't deprive anyone of their happy life by going and getting your own. And I'm going to answer these last questions after I read this last quote. Beliefs are just opinions you form by putting your attention to what is instead of what is next. Beliefs are just opinions you form by putting your attention to what is instead of what is next. And, well, are your beliefs stopping your intentions? It's a good thing to check in on, right? Oh, so much more. Putting a marker in the book, and let's see if there's any questions. Stop focusing on people pleasing. Yes. Great insights from Abraham and me. Why, thank you. Oh, good. Here's another question. On the struggle bus of not calibrating my own happiness to the happiness of people around me. Sister, I have ridden that frickin' bus my whole life. Mainly family and close friends, but I have a hard time being happy if there's something I can do to make them feel better. As I type this, thinking maybe it's me, thinking I've done something wrong, and that's why they're not happy, so I have to fix that. So this is really powerful, right? And one of the things I realized by Abraham telling me that the reason I was having these catastrophizing thoughts was I was calibrating basically to other people's fears, made me realize that what I could do instead was, as Abraham also said, increase my own vibration. And that instead would increase the ability for others around me to increase their own, right? So think about it. Somebody's not doing well, they're not great, and they're down in that little pit of despair. And instead of crawling down in there with them and being like, I know, I'm so sorry, it hurts, you are instead going, been there, love you, I'm going to keep walking up, catch up anytime you want, and if you need a hand, I got two. So continue to seek your joy, because also those people you love, they love you. And the happier you are, the happier they're going to be, right? You know it. Just like when you see your family and friends giddy and joyful and jubilant, that makes you so freaking happy. So take the words of Abraham. Increase your own joy, and you're automatically going to be more of a light for those around you. I don't know that's the words of Abraham. Those might be the words of my Abraham. Okay. Focusing on blessing brings more blessings. Exactly. Oh, so glad you mentioned that, because having a gratitude practice, I don't know if that term's new to you, but just in case it is, a gratitude practice simply means this: actively seeking out things in your life to feel grateful about. And if that seems hard to you, I will tell you some things that I feel grateful about almost every day that are always there for me. And I'm going to tell you them because they're weird. I feel incredibly grateful for running water. I do. Every time I wash my hands, every time I get a glass of water, oh, clear crystal water, every time I go to the bathroom, because I live in a home, probably like you all, where I get to push a button or pull a lever and it all goes away. I am happy every day for a freaking bathroom. Showers. So happy for showers. Beds. So happy for beds. Everyone got a bed, I hope? When was the last time you were so freaking happy for a bed? Probably when you were in it, right? Whew, take more moments like that. Are you happy for your roof? If you have one, I have one. So fucking grateful for a roof. There's just so many things to feel grateful about every single day that you might be overlooking. So make a gratitude practice. Focus on those blessings. Even in your worst days, I promise you, if you were able to get a glass of water, take a poo and make it go bye-bye, take a shower, sleep in a bed, have a door that locks to protect you, food in the fridge. How about someone to call just to say, I love you, and maybe even hear it back? You have so many freaking blessings. And the thing is the more that energy builds in us, the higher the vibration of that energy, then the more we manifest because the resistance becomes clear. And so happiness is contagious. Yes. So I'm going to end by showing you guys this emotional guidance scale. And if you don't already have one of these, I'm going to hold it here for a second so you can take a screenshot. Try to make it even. There we go. Take a screenshot. Okay. So what you want to do, and this information is in that book, Ask and It Is Given. But what you want to be focusing on doing is moving up from the lower vibrations, right? Just by thinking a better thinking thought. And when you get to level 7, contentment, which they also call satisfaction, that is when we start to manifest. So in answer to, don't remember whose question, about jinxing things, this is our manifestation time. This is our time of greatest receiving. We are most allowing here. So these emotions, joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation, passion, enthusiasm, eagerness, happiness, positive expectations, belief, optimism, hopefulness, contentment, satisfaction, these things have more energy for manifestation than worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge. Not that they don't have energy, because what we think about, we bring about, but these have a higher kind of power to them. So this is going to bring it much sooner to you, as well as remove that resistance between what you've already been asking for. So I think that's it. I got a lot of comments of people talking about things that I've said and repeating them, and I love that. I do that too. Any other questions? I'll give you a minute while I roll through here. Everybody say happy birthday to Desiree, by the way. It was her birthday yesterday. Are your beliefs stopping your intentions? Yes. Take a look at that. Do you believe like something about money? Do you believe like, ugh, you have to struggle so hard? No, that's going to stay in their way. Happy ripples. Oh, one of my teachers is on here. She said, go get it, Ray of Light. She named me that. I receive. Best day ever. Yes. Oh, I'm so pleased I got to share this all with you. If you liked this video, you liked this chance for me to answer your questions, you like this share of Abraham, just make a note down below and let me know, and I'll do this next Monday because I still have more to share. And if you have any questions about what I got a chance to sit with Abraham about, don't look at your hair in the mirror. Yeah. If you have any questions about that, such a freaking dork. Put them in the comments here or elsewhere, and I will talk about more about what they said about how to be a better channel and how you can stop calibrating to those people around you. Okay. I love you. It's so good to see you all again. Place any more questions you have, and I will answer them next week. Take care of yourself for me. Bye.